Okay, guys, it's story time. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how I didn't get fired from not just one, but two beauty shops. And there's quite a bit to this story. So I'll let it build within um, where we're going from this. Um, this video is pretty much something I've been wanting to do for quite a while. And it's directed at anybody who's young and trying to figure out how to break into a field that they're wanting to get into. So I hope this story will give you some ideas on maybe what not to do. So anyway, and this is quite a long time ago, by the way, when I was going to beauty school. I mean, this was the George W. Bush years, so quite a while. I know what you're thinking. Why are we talking about something that long ago? Well, you'll see where this is going in a minute. So, how it works is if you're going to one of these trade schools, and they were on the quarter system, at least this is how it worked for me. I don't know if it's still like that now. You had 4 quarters. You didn't have hardly any book work. You had this practice mannequin head if you were going into this field known as cosmetology, which would be involving cutting hair, perms, coloring, all that. And you'd have supplies. And at the school I was going to, and this is probably true for others, you would probably get clients sometime around the third quarter, I guess, for practice. And it would help you build some experience. But of course, that was relying on some things too. So, because you couldn't use that little practice mannequin head forever. That was just to get you started and being comfortable with working on clients. But anyway, after the 4 quarters is up, you would have to take your state board and make sure and try to pass it. And we had like a written one, and then we had one where we were actually working on we had the mannequin head and everything. So, long story short, I actually got a good grade on the written and not the practical one. I ended up having to retake that one. So I passed both times. I know one thing I remember uh the first year I was there, and then for the exam first time we had to do something called pin curls. And this is some, I don't know, my God, this is something either my grandmother would have and her friends would have been wearing a style from that. I mean, the Great Depression there or something. I don't know why that was still on there, but by the time I finally retook the test, they had discontinued that, so maybe that helped me out. I don't know. But anyway, now we have the part about trying to get a job after that is all said and done. So I did manage to get a job somewhere. It was I'm not going to say the name of any of these shops. It really don't matter anyway. The tricky part is, how do you let on that you don't have all that much experience other than working on clients on the floor, which a lot of that was not just to build experience, but people would go there to get a haircut or style much cheaper. How do you let on without, you know, it's like you're gonna get your client, and when you start working there, and you're gonna be a little nervous, and that's normal. But how do you avoid this slippery slope of asking for help? That was kind of tricky. So I was at this shop all of 2 weeks, and how do I put this nicely? I've messed up someone's hair, and then I got let go. So pretty bad experience. And it could have been because I was nervous, or it could have been because I didn't know if I should ask the woman for advice. I forgot. And looking back, I'm thinking, well, you're already hired. You should not be. That's the hard part. You shouldn't be worrying about asking for advice or something or whatever. But anyway, at the time, my ex-boyfriend at the time said, "You're gonna have to try again. Get back on that horse." And so we ended up going to, he found a classified ad in the paper one time, and he said, "You should call these people. They're looking for a barber or maybe just I don't know." and I was reluctant. And they let me do a test on cutting his hair, but they still didn't want to hire me because I didn't have experience. That again, that bugaboo. Um, so ended up, I don't know how many months went by between the first shop and the next one, but I finally tried another salon, and same thing happened. I used my ex-boyfriend as my test model so she could evaluate how well I did. So since I passed that, um, well, next day I start work. Uh, it don't go very well with that first client. My first client, I messed up something. I can't remember what I messed up. But she took me in the back room and let me go, and that was really bad. That was really the kicker. You get fired from two of these shops, you're pretty much you're done. So I was starting to question if this was even a good avenue to have gone down in the first place. Uh, and I told my ex about it, and of course, he didn't know anything about that field, and I don't really think he could have. He did try to. One time he said, "Have you ever thought about just going to one of these places and just asking if you can just be a shampoo girl? You'll make some tips, to start out, and you may just be washing towels or sweeping up hair off the floor." And I said, yeah, I didn't think that was a bad idea. I mean, it's worth a shot. I tried that. That didn't really. That didn't pan out either. I think it's kind of funny. My first husband, I told him about that experience, and he said, "Why did you do that? That just sounds so desperate." What? Just settling or being willing to just be a shampoo girl? And I said, "Well, I kind of was desperate. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, I figured that's probably the only angle I could have worked around." um, so a few more things happened. I even a family friend's son agreed to be a test model at another shop. It was the same thing over and over. Now, I don't know how many of you got people out here believe in, a higher power, God, universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it. But I kind of think it was one of those telling me, you got to stop this. It's not working. I've got something better planned for you. On the lighter side of this, because this was a very devastating experience I had. I just found myself thinking of an episode of King of the Hill. You'll see where I'm going with this. Luann is she wants to be a beautician, and she finally passes her state board, but then she's got to try to get a job without experience too. And so she goes to a family friend, Bill Dotree, who is a barber, and they agree to go into the rental fee for a booth. So she's got him to vouch PR, and because they're related, and I'm not related, family friend. The only trouble is this salon they're at is very urban hipsterish, and Bill has to pretend to be gay to fit in with the company culture. Okay, I sound like I'm veering off in too many directions, but the point I was trying to make is the character couldn't get a successful practice without experience, or at least a relative that had experience to vouch for. That's how it has to go. So one more time, I was pretty much about ready to throw in the towel with this whole beauty shop thing. And then somebody, one time there was this strip mall on the road. There was a sign in the window of this one shop saying we're a stylist wanted. I was encouraged to try to go in there and inquire. But I think it was a career coach I had at the time. I was a little reluctant. I thought, okay, it's worth a try. But this beauty shop owner, this lady, she was very nasty to me. Let's just put it that way. Like, why was I was intruding on her practice, and She said, I want you to go pass out flyers. Well, wait, what? Pass out flyers to promote her shop, not to help me do anything. Um, Eventually I got fed up with that, and she wanted me to go buy her some trash bags, okay? For the waste can. And I got one, and she said it was the wrong size or something. I don't know. She was kind of a bitch. Let's just put it that way. I think at that point I left. I was like, okay, that's it. 3 strikes. You know what they say? 3 strikes, you're done. Uh, you have 3 bad experiences trying to break into a field, and it's pretty much the good Lord is telling you, stop. you know, Almost like that old PR. What is that ad on TV where Michael Jordan is saying, just stop, just stop. So it was like that. So I think at some point next year, I think the time came to renew my license. I did not. I just, um, I didn't do anything. I just kind of had to accept that this was just not going to be the path. Now, looking back, since it's been a number of years, I'm thinking there's only 2 ways I think I could have broken into that field, working in a salon. And if I'd had a lot of friends, now if you got a big social circle, you're going to have these. They're going to come to maybe the school to get worked on, since it's a lot cheaper, and they'll be your first customers hopefully in the future. So I think this industry is very reliant on a lot of good PR. It's like a bad experience, and there's always this. I know there's this minute possibility something could go wrong. Chemicals from some of these hair care products could get something happen to them. Cats out there. And I guess they were worried about getting sued, and they got an inexperienced person there, and they don't want their reputation ruined. Of course, it don't do any good for people who are inexperienced. So, okay. Now, that part of the whole thing I get, but nobody ever could tell me that. That's what sucked about this whole thing. People would just say, oh, did you try this shop? You need to try this shop. Blah, blah, blah. They did not really tell me about what is it like from a salon owner's perspective. You know what I mean? So, I'm veering off here. Okay. If you have a big social circle, your friends will come in and get their hair done, and you'll probably have an easier time getting that first job, because your friends, maybe you'll work it out with them if something goes wrong, and the beauty shop owner won't have to worry about getting sued. Okay, second option, you have a relative in that field like that. Family, friend, relative, no matter if it's a mother, aunt, cousin, any of that, and would they be willing to train you? That's another way you'd be safe if you were just out of beauty school. And this could apply to other fields as well. This is just my story. I think that's the only two ways you're going to bridge that gap. But okay, well, I have rambled about this quite a bit. Let me hear your take on this. So, last points. You have a lot of friends, or you have a relative or a family friend in the field you want to go into. That's, I think, the only way you're going to break into a career field nowadays. I don't really think there's any other way. Okay, well, thanks for listening, and over and out.